Hey guys, just heading north, just crossed the bridge, and I'm on the north side of the harbour going up to Dungog, going up to the ethical farmer's property where the cow that I've just finished, the half body, was raised, and where it lived and where the pasture was that it consumed, the soil that it lived on, and going to reconnect with that.
Always wanted a farm from a young age. I've always, our family had a hobby farm. We'd always go there and muck around and get dirty and play with the animals and bikes and things like that. And I've, growing up, I've always wanted my own farm. And getting into the butchery business, 10 years ago, just really cemented that for me. I think, just dealing with all the awesome farmers that we deal with our business.
That inspired you to?
It did, for sure. It inspired
me.
Yeah, like I'd go and visit their farms, and you just get there, coming out of the city, and you get there and you're like, how
breath of fresh air.
Yeah, how good's this?
Yeah.
And so I made the decision about 4 years ago to start looking.
Yep.
And it took me probably nearly 2 years to find this spot, and it was worth the wait, because
it's magical.
I'm a happy man when I'm here. Not happy, but I'm happier here.
Happier here, yeah.
And I'm excited for the next couple of years. Like, we've only had the property for 2 years, just under 2 years.
Yep.
And there's so much to do, and I'm excited to move here next year with my kids and live on the land for a couple of years while they're young, and then really develop this land and make it into an awesome place.
Yeah. So you're slowly transitioning your business into it. So you had the chooks before.
Yep.
Different site, you've moved them here.
Yep.
Now you've got the beef here in the background. And there's a transition period to make this property more regenerative
100%.
And to have a better product. And it's people just think, it's just cows and grass and that's it. But there's a lot that goes into it. Yeah.
No, yes, exactly. Like, I'd love to do it all now, but it takes time, and you've got little steps. I think it's a cinch by the inch, it's hard by the yard. There's a saying my old man would often say, and it's so true. Like, there's a lot to do. There's a lot of things to set up. We've got to set up our watering system. Yep. Pipe all the paddocks so we can do rotational grazing properly, and fix a few fences, and really just streamline it so we can use these animals, the chickens and the cattle, to rejuvenate the land and
get a better product.
Yeah, and then at the end of the day, it's going to produce a much better product.
Yeah, and something that makes a difference, and it's improving the health of the environment, improving health of humanity with good food, and then also making a viable business out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
It has to tick all those boxes.
Yeah, look, I want to make money, of course, but I want to make it the right way.
Yeah, totally.
Like, I don't want to destroy my land and destroy the animals and just to make a profit. Like, there's enough people doing that.
Yeah.
I think we need to there's a lot of people out there doing it the right way.
Yeah,
and,
totally.
and learning from them, and those guys and girls are so happy to share their information. And that's unreal. And that's what we need. We need to collectively come together, share what's working, right, what doesn't work, and share our different experiences. For me, as a a very green farmer, it's a very steep learning curve. My business partner Jim, who's grown up on his land, on the land all his life, and I'm lucky to have him to. We sort of complement each other, and it's it's exciting. It's exciting to what lies ahead.
Yeah. So do you think that's one of the bigger issues in terms of more people doing this, is just to help them understand it? You can make it a viable business.
Yeah.
As well as making a difference and putting that together. Yeah,
I think you've got to be careful not to overcapitalise, and because you're going to times where you're going to need like extra money in the bank to. At the moment, we're in a pretty bad drought, and we don't have enough feed on our property yet. I've had to buy in hay. And
until you get the soil right here, then you're not going to be drought proof.
No, and that's my aim.
That's the process, to build the soil enough so you don't need to bring in feed. That it doesn't matter what the conditions are like. Your farm's still producing.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
Yeah. So in the transition to making the farm very regenerative, sustainable in the sense that it can keep going at a good level. That's not easy, huh?
No, it's not. And like we need the support from our awesome customers, and we're very lucky. We've got very loyal, a loyal following, and awesome customers that support us, and that's what what we need to do. That's what everyone needs to do. Vote with their dollar.
Because the money that they put into you is going to go into this.
Yeah, exactly. Support. Vote with your dollar. Support farmers that are doing the right thing. Ask questions. Try and go visit the farms. Once we're fully here and set up properly, we're going to have days out in the farm, and people can come out and we do tours, and they can get produce and take it back with them.
Yeah. It isn't easy though.
It's not. It's not when you're competing against other big companies and other companies that are saying they're doing the right thing, but it's unfortunately the labelling laws are a bit dodgy. And the consumers are the ones that trying to do the right thing, and they go and buy something and read the label, and it's not really what it really is. It's they're the ones losing out, unfortunately, and so are farmers that are doing
it right. Yeah. When someone's supporting you, they're putting their money back into the soil.
Yeah, basically. I mean, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to convert that sun, the energy of the sun, into beautiful protein. Through the soil, through the pasture, through the animal. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build topsoil, trap carbon in the ground, in the soil, grow beautiful pasture. These cows can convert into amazing, healthy protein.
Totally.
In fact.
And then the competition that's out there is very fossil fuel dependent, and their inputs are coming from an ancient source of sunlight, as opposed to what you're trying to do, which is real-time sunlight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's very, very important part of farming in the future. Doing it this way. Yeah. It's the only
way that we're going to
be able to continue. It's the only way to go forward. Yeah. I mean, we can't. This. Unfortunately, the vegan movement's pretty big, and the fake meat, the Beyond Meat stuff.
Impossible burger.
That's not the way to go. I'd rather eat a burger that has one ingredient than 20 ingredients.
Yeah, totally.
Like my burger's going to have this in it.
And people just don't realise the steps, when you compare it. So we're looking at sunlight, we're looking at water, the soil, grass, these guys eating a steak. That's it. That's simple. Whereas you compare it to the other model, which is chemical inputs, fossil fuel inputs to make chemicals, to make fertilizer, to make pesticides, and then you're growing on the soil which is devoid of microorganisms, and then you're growing crops to use to make into something else, and then you, like you said, 20 ingredients, and then putting them together in a factory in a way that's totally unnatural and making the most processed food that we can imagine, and then palming that off as a health product, and then palming that off as something that's good for the environment. When there's all those steps and inputs, let alone the machinery, the factory kind of setup, as well as all the embodied energy that's going into every stage, whether it's irrigating the crops, whether it's how they process it in the factory, or how they add the chemicals to make it taste like meat.
Yeah, look, I know what I'm going to choose.
Yeah, but
it's a pretty simple.
It's a very simple equation, but a lot of people are being fooled by it.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And I think, personally, I just feel that the only way we're going to resolve this is education, and to really reconnect people to their food supply and help them understand stuff like this and what you're doing. So when they support it, they know, okay, this is the difference, and have that comparative, kind of perspective.
Yeah, definitely. Like it's not. I don't want to point fingers at other farmers that are doing things, differently. Yeah. Like it's, that's probably how they've done it all their life, and
that's what they know.
That's what
and
they
it
know.
Works. It makes money,
for them.
It keeps paying the debt off,
But there's so many examples of other ways of doing things that some people that are making the leap, they're getting the benefits out of it.
Yeah.
And it's a big jump, I'm sure. Like if for someone that's been doing one way and then completely changing how they've done it and how they've known it their whole life.
Yep. It's
change something, it's bloody scary, and you can understand why people won't do it.
And when someone's leveraged, we have the whole worldwide phenomenon of people being, in mortgages and in debt, and they're basically a slave to that. So they feel like, they've got to always choose the most profitable safe option. And when you're in a farm, if you know something's working, even if you're using chemicals and fertilizers and using these methods, tilling, all of these things that are actually ruining the soil, gradually reducing topsoil, but you've got the money to put the inputs and you can still get a yield. It's very hard to make the jump and go, okay, well, I'm going to forego those inputs.
They've got repayments to make, you know.
And they've got to keep up with those repayments.
Exactly, yeah.
It's a very scary transition.
How scary it is. Bloody oath.
Yeah. And it's just up to people trying to, you know, just do it and share it so that people feel safer about doing it. And people understand it.
There is more and more people making the transition, like little steps, and making sure that works and then converting things, you know. But
it's a big one.
It's a tough one.
And then there's also the other side of this business where you're going direct to consumer.
Yeah, see that? I mean, and I think that's
the way to go for any small producer.
100%, and that's the only way.
There's no way, you know, like how can you compete with a large scale operation? It's, you know, in order for you to make any money, if you're going through, you know, large supermarket chains or any, you know, and you're selling your meat that way, to make any money, you've just got to get bigger and bigger and bigger because your margins are so small.
Well, yeah, I mean, the margins are smaller, and I don't want to give anyone else a cut. Like, we do all the hard work.
So you need to be the middleman and the producer, so that way you can really
definitely
put it back into the farming operation rather than it leaving the farm.
And then it also makes it more affordable for consumers to buy it.
Yeah, totally.
It makes it a bit more widespread, you know, and it's, I mean, there's other ways of you know, buying good grass-fed products. Is, you know, by going with a few people and buying in bulk. Like we do a cow share where, you know, 8 people can get together and buy one cow.
One of these.
We cut it all up, butcher it. You get an eighth of the cow. 1/8. You get a little bit of every bit of cut, and it's, you know, it awesome. Works out. You know, it averages out about $22 a kilo, and you get in steak, you know, beautiful high fillet, Scotch fillet, sirloin steaks, and then all your mince and roasts and bones.
Works very well.
You know,
I mean, we both just divided up a whole cow between the two of us.
Yeah. He tried to take some of mine. We had a bit of an argument about that one.
Yeah, but that's basically all I've eaten for the last 6 months, or 4 5 months.
Yeah.
Last 5 months, that's all I've eaten, which is just phenomenal. I'm doing the full carnivore thing, just adding a little bit of excess fat because the animal was a little bit leaner. But besides that, it's pretty amazing.
It is.
And it's a unique way of kind of looking at this whole model of how now I'm connected to this property in the sense that all I'm eating is the animal that came from this property and the grass that's grown on this property. So it's a very simple kind of concept for people to get.
Yeah, and I think we just got to educate them and understand it, you know, and know what, you know that it's available and how you can do it.
Yeah.
And when you're spending your hard-earned money on our products, you know it's going to our land and help us, you know, build a better farm.
Yeah, and then sharing this like this is also going to inspire all the other farmers to say, okay, well, these guys are doing well, and the more people that are going into it, the more people that are going to want to produce a product like this.
Exactly.
And more consumers will benefit, the whole of humanity will benefit, the environment will benefit. So it's that knock-on effect, but it's just getting that momentum, getting it started. So this is pretty rugged terrain up here.
Yeah, it certainly is. Like this hilly country, it's you know, it's only really suitable for grazing.
Yeah.
For grazing livestock.
You're not going to grow corn and soy and
no, certainly not. I mean, well, I'm not going to drive the tractor up some of these things, mate. That's
combine
for sure.
harvester up the hill.
No chance.
You're pretty rough.
Yeah.
So you've got this land all up on the tops of the hills that you're using for grazing.
Yeah.
And then you've got the flats down the bottom where you've got the chooks.
Yeah. Our aim with those flats is to, once we get our water sorted out, all our piping. And our hydrants everywhere, that we can properly rotational graze. We'll get the cattle in first, let them leave the toilet behind and then move on, and then the chickens will come in, pick through all their cow manure, spread it out and sanitise the paddock, and then they'll move on, and then we'll let it rest and then it will grow, and that's how
you can fertilise it and just make it healthier and healthier, build that topsoil.
Exactly. So that's that's our game, our aim for the flats.
Yeah, and then you have that side effect of grass-fed beef, beautiful eggs.
Yeah.
Meat chooks.
Meat chooks. Exactly.
Simple.
Yeah.
And not bad for a.
The next step is to have our own processing plant, which would be full time.
Keep it all contained.
Yeah, it'd be great. Which that's that's the next step down the line. We'll get through this. You know.
So Dom, your health has been a challenge.
Yeah, it
so
has.
You're always working on it.
Yeah, you know, you've been through it every step of the way.
We're
with
almost
me.
20 years working together to try and get you healthy. So you've had to get a farm just to try and find a way to force you into this.
Yeah, exactly. I look at, you know, my health has been up and down for years, and it's all my own doing. You know, like I'm responsible for it. I made certain decisions at certain points that weren't the best for me. You know, I put those certain foods in my mouth and then paid the price for it. You know, and it's you know, it's a journey. Yeah. It certainly is. I know what I need to do to feel better, and it's just getting that, you know, just getting that focus again, and you know, working on my willpower, and you know, just.
Well, you're definitely invested in it.
Yeah, I have. You know, I'm in it. You know, I'm in it now.
You're leveraged.
Certainly am. And you know, I've just got to walk past those bakeries and not walk in there. You know,
and just remember what you got back here.
Exactly. Remember what's in the fridge at home.
Totally. And you know, it's all going to go back into supporting the soil, supporting you. Yeah.
You know, like for me, I can't eat that crap. You know, some people can; they get away with it. I can't.
Yeah,
you know,
you suffer for it.
I suffer from it. You know, it's
and it's almost unfortunate. You know, like for you, and fortunate, because you've got the fortunate side is that because it hurts you, you know. Whereas it's unfortunate for other people. Some people just get away with it. They don't even know how bad it is for them. And it's not until they get to a certain point in their life where they really realise, okay, you know, I need to do something about this. But they've got, you know, 20, 30, 40 years of undoing to do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what I found. Like when I got extremely, I was, you know, I had a run there of a year, 2 years where I was great. And then let myself slip. And then, you know, it's just once you let yourself slip, it's a steep decline, and then it's hard to get back out. And you can see how. I mean, I'm still feeling it now. As we were talking about carnivore, like I started at 50%, so I've been slowly working my way out, and I'm probably at 95% full carnivore now, and just got to get rid of a few little things that creep in there.
So what's the big challenge for you? So you get different skin conditions, inflammatory conditions?
My body's full of inflammation, really. You know, my gut's out of whack, which then, you know, I get inflamed skin, get hives sometimes, break out. You know, I get sick, puffy eyes. You know, my old injuries come back, like my neck.
You can feel all
straight away
the old injuries.
But it's only 2 weeks of clean living. You start to feel it again.
A bit better.
Feel it better. And I mean, feeling is believing. And you've got to, you know, you're saying those people that don't have been living, you know, unhealthily all their life, and they get away with it. They don't know what it feels like to be truly healthy. And
so it's up to people like you to live by example now.
I've got to, I've got to. I mean, I've got 4 young kids. You know, like if that's not, you know,
motivation,
if that's not motivation, then what is? You know? I mean, and I want to be around. I want to be a healthy 70, 80, 90-year-old running after my kids.
Yeah, it's my goal. It's just
I don't want to be limping away and you know, half dead. There's no way.
Yeah, it's just getting as healthy as you can and keeping it simple. And just taking out those things that you think are serving you, but really it's just a short-term sense of fulfillment that you get, that instant gratification from those types of foods that just give you a quick rush, but then they leave you worse for wear.
And I think when you're younger, you know, I took for granted that I was healthy and fit, playing sport, and you know.
And it's your youth though, and you're
and then all of a sudden you stop playing sport, and then you get a little bit older. And you know, I'm 40 now, and
you feel it.
It's
a harder.
I mean,
experience.
You know, I'm carrying 10 kilos of extra weight that I don't need to, which it's putting so much pressure on all my joints and bones, and I feel it.
And the inflammatory process. Every time you eat something that's pro-inflammatory in your body, then you're going to feel all those areas that are working hard.
I certainly do. You know it. How many times I've come in with you?
Totally.
I'm stuffed. What are we?
Sore again.
And you just shake your head. Come on, let's start again.
Just start again. That's all we can all do is just start fresh right now.
And don't get hard on yourself. You know.
Yeah, totally. It doesn't work.
Like it
doesn't work. You've got to find something you enjoy. So if you were enjoying the lifestyle and you're eating this way and you feel satisfied by it, you're more likely to keep doing it. You feel it's too restrictive, or you feel you're disconnected, So it's, I guess that, but a lot of that comes down to how people are programmed to think as well. So what people believe is healthy. So people believe eating meat is unhealthy, as opposed to, you know, eating vegetables and fruits and all these things are supposed to be very healthy for us.
Yeah.
Whereas we can look at any one of these animals right now, and it's basically got all the nutrition that we need as a human being within one animal. So, you know, to sustain life for a very robust and healthy human being, because if we look at these animals, they're basically what we evolved eating. So, you know, we became what we are because of eating herbivores, and it's a unique process to kind of transition to that thinking, even for myself. You know, going through a process of realizing, well, vegetables aren't that important and meat is very important. Not that I think that everyone should be so extreme like what I'm doing or what you're doing now, but it's definitely a worthwhile endeavor to try and find a way of life that makes you feel optimal and really healthy, and staying open-minded. I thought, you know, carnivore was just way too extreme, but now that I'm doing it, I'm 6 months in of only eating, you know, animal products and just having grass-fed beef, and then I'm having the organ meats from pastured lamb and a bit of ghee, and that's all I eat. And it's quite amazing the changes that are occurring in me. But what fascinates me is that if you think of where we come from, and we're an outgrowth of humans evolving to be able to digest meat and allowing us to expand our brains and have a very abundant energy source. Like if you look at these cows now, they're all just consuming grass and pasture, but they do that all day. We don't have the time to do that, so we can get it into 2 to 3 good meals a day, or even 1, and get all the nutrition that we need in, you know, a 10-minute, or with you, a 2-minute sitting, and nourish our bodies and get their fat, their organs, and all the minerals, all the vitamins, all the nutrition that we require to be robust.
100%. You know, and I mean, it's a good, especially for me, to having, you know, a bit of an elimination diet, starting with this, and then
and then you can
test and seeing how I go, and
things.
just add something, you know, once a week.
Yeah.
See how that makes me feel, and see if I can tolerate it. And I think if we build our system up and our foundation up, when we can't get access to all the right food, or if we're travelling, you know, people travel a lot, tolerant. You know, you're a lot more tolerant to handle some extra stresses that you're consuming. If your body
can handle them, but the funny thing is you get highly reactive. So I know for myself, I've got less tolerance now. Not because I'm not healthy, it's just that my body will try and get rid of whatever it is that's not right.
Yeah.
So now you become hypersensitive, whereas people are having it all the time. They don't realize how bad there is, and the system's almost like, oh, okay, well, they're just going to keep doing it. There's no point in overreacting.
Well, that can be a bit of a turn off for some people.
Oh, totally, it is a big one.
It did happen to me. Like, and I noticed
think,
that.
well, if this is health, I don't want it.
Yeah, which
means I'm getting more sensitive to everything, and I have to be more careful with what I'm eating. Then I just want to go back to just being able to eat everything and feel kind of all right.
And I can understand that. I mean, that's how I felt at times, for sure. But
definitely for me, like bloating, gas, skin, joint conditions, energy, focus, concentration.
I don't want to live with that either.
You know, like all of those things are dramatically improved with a carnivore approach. And then people having foods that are more challenging for the digestive system, or take longer, or you need more of a microbiome to actually break it down. And then you've got to keep eating constantly throughout the day to maintain blood sugar, whereas this, you know, once you're having good quality fat from animals, it's just this stable fuel.
Well, you're 6 months ahead of me. I'm catching you. Well, I'm not going to catch you now.
Yeah, you'll catch me. You're living here, man. This is the dream. You're breathing the fresh air in every day.
Yeah, so we
awesome.
Can't wait to have you come up and visit and
check it out.
Have a good feed and go home with some nice grass-fed products.
So what an awesome trip. It was so great just to get away, get out of the city, and get up to Ethical Farmers property up at Dungog and spend some time with Dom. Had a beautiful afternoon, filmed some of the cattle in the afternoon, and then had a good look around, filmed the sunset, then had a beautiful dinner by the fire, watched the full moon rise, got up the next morning nice and early, to film the sunrise, get some shots there, get some time lapses, and then also get some drone footage, which was just phenomenal, just to watch the whole landscape wake up and just be fueled by that sunlight in the morning. And that's the whole concept, is just to see how that sun transfers into grass through healthy soil and pulls the carbon and nitrogen out of the atmosphere, and then transforms that into a beautiful grass-fed beef product. Tom also has meat chickens and egg layers on his property, which is pretty cool, and he uses that as part of the sanitation method. So on the flats he uses the eggmobiles and meat chickens to follow the cows, which is pretty amazing. Great use of space, and it's a great resource that he's getting out of that. It's beautiful pastured eggs and chicken, as well as having the cattle all over the property, because most of his property is quite hilly, besides the flats. So all over the hilly part of the property, the cattle are there, which is very cool, and they're just grazing where you can't get a tractor or a plough. So they're making use of that land, and it's just beautiful to see it in action, and just to really connect with the property and the ecosystem that's supporting me. So for the last 6 months on this carnivore diet, that's all I've eaten is the beef from that property. I've actually had lamb organ meats from another property through Ethical Farmers, but he gets that from another property just to supplement that, just because of the issue with the abattoirs and getting those actual organ meats from the bodies when they're processed, which is just more regulations that make it harder to get healthy, but you just got to find a way. You've really got to go out of your way to be healthy now, and do it for yourself, because if you're waiting and just trusting, large food processing companies or agro-farming companies or pharmaceutical companies or agrochemical companies to do the right thing by us, then we're going to be waiting a very long time. So we need to focus on our health and just know that there's nothing wrong with the people that work for these organizations. They're just trying to make a profit, and they're trying to keep their jobs, and they're just doing what they've been hired to do, and that's fair enough. But at the same time, we need to wake up and we need to support the people doing it right, that are growing food in a way that not only creates very nourishing food for the human body and for humanity, but also nourishes the ecosystem that it's coming from and regenerates it into something better. Because we can't just sustain what we're doing now. So sustainable farming is not what we need. We need regenerative farming. We need farmers that are going to leave the soil in a better state than they got it, and grow that topsoil, and avoid the use of fungicides, pesticides, herbicides, antibiotics, glyphosate, which is just a form of antibiotic, which is destroying the life in the soil. So we need to get that life back in the soil, so that way the soil can work as another living organism. So people think of the animals and grasses, but the soil is alive, and it's pulling. When it's healthy, it provides nutrients to the plants, vitamins, minerals, and then in exchange for the plant's roots for the carbon, which gets pulled out of the atmosphere. So there's this cyclical relationship of that carbon coming from the atmosphere with the nitrogen, and then that's going into the grasses and into the animals consuming that. And if we're eating vegetables, going into us as well via that plant method. Not that that's what I'm doing, just bypass that, let the animals do it for me. But I'm finding this quite an amazing journey into really understanding what health is, and understanding the ecosystem that supports me, as well as understanding the dysfunction that's out there that most people are living off. And because of the fossil fuel inputs, whether it's chemical fertilizers, whether it's just the machinery they're using, whether it's pesticides, whether it's the processing of the food after to turn it into something that's viable for human consumption, all of it is an expense. It's totally unnecessary. I mean, eating meat, and then I still like a lot of the meat, I get the half body and I freeze it, so there's an expense there with refrigeration, with freezing it. But then, normally when I first defrost, I just have it raw and rare, and then I'll sear it, so I'm not really even spending much energy on cooking it. So it's really quite a different perspective when you look at everything that goes into producing food and all the inputs at every level. So we've got grass-fed beef, sunlight, grass, water, the microorganisms within the soil, carbon being pulled out of the atmosphere, nitrogen being pulled out of the atmosphere, going into the soil, coming up into the grasses, minerals coming out of the ground because the root systems are deep, and that ending up in the animal, and then I'm consuming that animal, and then I'm healthy. Whereas if you look at a conventional agricultural model with all the other inputs, it just doesn't make sense, and it can't make sense. It makes dollars because fossil fuel's so cheap, and because we're running off ancient sunlight, and we have all these methods of processing, of transporting, of manufacturing, of controlling ecosystems, but we're doing all of it with fossil fuels. And as soon as you take that out of the equation, it's not possible, and it's just not worth pursuing. So the sooner we wake up and realize that we are doing all this harm to the planet, and that we're doing harm to humanity and to ourselves, and there is another way, and we start supporting that, the sooner we can heal the planet and heal ourselves for humanity. I mean, regardless of whether humanity's here or not, the earth will go on, and it'll just keep evolving and keep doing what it's going to do, and it will find a way to harvest the sunlight. But if we want to stick around and enjoy a beautiful long life and humanity to keep going, then we really need to start to respect the relationship that we have, and the fact that we are one with the earth and the ecosystem, and every human being is an expression of the ecosystem that supports it, whether they like it or not. You can't not be. It's just, which ecosystem are you supporting? Are you supporting the factory farming, the model of industrialized agriculture, or are you supporting farmers that are doing it right and really looking after the soil and making a difference? So the ball's in your court. So we can all make a difference, and yes, it costs money, but what costs more? If you're unwell and unhealthy and you're having to rely on medical drugs to stay alive, and you're not enjoying your life, that's going to cost you a hell of a lot more. So you've really got to factor in all the costs. So it's time to get healthy and support those doing it right, and support yourself. So if you enjoy the content, and I hope you enjoyed the videos that I made in these short clips, then give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'm going to take everyone on a journey that's following me and watching these videos into how to get healthy through nutrition, lifestyle, movement, and really how to manage yourself in an effective way to get the most out of life. So see you soon, guys.